Hello and welcome back. I am Basil Hawkins, and today we'll be going over some card reviews from the One Piece card game Twitter account for the past week or so. I was holding off on making this video since most of the cards were from the blue and green starter decks, and I figured I'd be making a deck breakdown on those pretty soon since we seem to be getting those cards pretty consistently, so I thought I'd just go ahead and make deck breakdowns instead of card reveals. But they've also started revealing booster set cards in addition to the starter deck cards, so there is actually a lot to talk about. Those booster set cards, they have, more unique effects considering they're not falling into the themes of the starter decks. They have a little bit more freedom, so I think it'll be good to talk about those in addition to the starter deck cards that have been revealed. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to the One Piece TCG Discord, who are making the great proxies and doing all the research and translating the cards and having all of the up-to-date current info and just fun people to talk to about the One Piece card game. So check them out. I'll put a link in the description. But now let's get into it. So the first card that we have to talk about is Heat, the guy from the Kid Pirates. That's about all I can say. He breathes fire once, but I don't think he has any notable achievements or really anything that makes him particularly worth talking about as a character. He kind of looks like Basil Hawkins, which is interesting. I think I got them confused the first time I saw them both in the anime. But he is a 2-cost 4,000 power, so he's the VV of this deck, the VV from the red starter deck, or the Sheep's Head if you're talking about the purple starter deck. He also has the 1,000 counter, which is very useful, but he's a vanilla for the most part. And has a very, very mediocre image on his card, with a empty text box taking up half the image, which is a very strange stylistic choice on their part. But yes, Heat. He breathes fire. The next card that we have is the Love Beam. This is a blue event card, and it is a 2-cost, and it is the effect counter. So this card can only be used as a counter. Your leader or up to one of your characters gains 4,000 power for the duration of the battle. Then, if you have 3 or less cards in your hand, draw 1. So this is a very interesting counter because this is a counter that does not have a trigger effect. So it needs to be in your hand, which it would be either way, but it does not give you an option if it's hit in your life. So it comes from your hand no matter what. And it has a really strong buff of 4,000. The Borrow Breath, the purple starter deck counter, is a 1-cost that gives 4,000 power. This is a 2-cost that gives 4,000 power, but in addition, it also gives you a potential draw if your hand has 3 cards or less, which, as a person who's been playing a lot of red starter deck lately, anything that lets you draw is automatically amazing. Because my experience with red is either you use your character cards that have counter as counters every now and again, and you just straight up run out of cards in your hand, or you save them and, those characters don't get to really do much because you play them and maybe you get to attack with them, or you don't get to play them at all, especially if you're playing against purple starter deck, where there's a lot of cards that on play can get rid of your red cards like King and Who's Who and Kaido himself. So anything that lets you draw is automatically good. So this is a fantastic counter, probably in my opinion, the best counter so far. That being said, it doesn't have a trigger, so there's a balance to everything, but I think it's great. It's also cool because it lets us know about Hancock being in this deck. And hey, look at that. The next card that we're looking at that was revealed is Boa Hancock. She is a strange card, to say the least. She is a 3-cost, 1,000 power, special type character, and she has blocker, and the counter plus 1,000, and the trigger, play this card. So she is a weird card, and I know that there was a bit of debate about her when this card was revealed, because a 3-cost 1,000 power blocker seems very counterintuitive when you consider the first blocker we ever saw was a 1-cost 1,000 with Chopper. But she does have some benefits, being that she also has the counter 1,000 and the trigger on play, or the trigger play this card, which is the best version of this card, is it being in your security or your life and it getting hit and then coming onto your field right away. That's the best case scenario. If she's in your hand, I'd say the better way to use her is just as a counter to get that extra 1,000 on somebody else, because paying 3 costs for a 1,000 blocker on the field, unless you're really desperate, that just doesn't seem like it's useful. So she is useful, but I think they might have gone overboard with her cost. I feel like no one would question it if she was a 2 cost and she still had all these effects, but a 3 cost, I don't know. That just seems like a lot, considering if you pay the 3 to play her normally, a Who's Who can kill her right away with his effect. There's lots of it's just 1,000. Like it's in the end, no matter what, if she's on the field, she's 1,000 blocker. So I don't know. It's also 1,000 power for Boa Hancock just seems insultingly low. I mean, I'm sure they have to do things like this for balancing the deck's sake. But I mean, she's Boa Hancock. She's more than 1,000 power. But I guess in the Warlords deck, somebody has to have 1,000 power. But yeah, Boa Hancock. The next card we got is Basil Hawkins, and he is crazy good. He is in the green starter deck, and he is really good. The green starter deck cards that we've seen are, I mean, hopefully there's not just one color that knocks away the rest, but the green effects just seem way too good to be true. He is a 5 cost, 6,000 power, slasher style card, and his effect is Dawn 1, so you attach a Dawn to him once per turn. During your turn, if this character battled with an opponent's character, set this character to active. So basically, Hawkins, if he attacks a person, your opponent's character, like one of their character cards, then he gets to wake back up. If he attacks your opponent's leader and gets blocked, he gets to wake back up. If he attacks your opponent's leader and doesn't get blocked, he does not wake back up. So he has to fight an opponent's character to wake back up. But that is, for a 1 Dawn attached effect, that is really good. He's really strong. 6,000 power is nothing to sniff at for 5 cost. And he can potentially double attack and is functionally unblockable unless you're willing to take that second attack anyway. He seems like he's going to be a really hard card to play around. And as I look into the cards, I think I'm becoming a little more interested in playing blue as like my main color as the time goes by. But this card inspires me to play green, not only because of the character himself, but because the effect is just very exciting and interesting. So yeah, I will say once again that this is a card that has the crappy image where it's got the anime screenshot and then a mostly empty text box on the card. I feel like that's a stylistic choice they should probably lean away from as time goes by. Maybe don't have the giant text box. Like, the text itself doesn't need the giant text box, especially if the card doesn't have text on it, like that Heat card earlier. But yes, Hawkins, he's going to be good. He's going to be real good. The next card that was revealed was actually from a magazine, and it's just one card that we got, which is a Mihawk card from the blue starter deck. And I mean, I'm sure people are very excited about Mihawk, and for good reason, not just because the character himself is awesome, but because the card is awesome. He's a 4-cost, 5,000 power slasher style. He's got the Warlords typing. I haven't been saying like their actual designations, but if they're in the specific starter decks, you can assume that they're probably from that starter deck style theme. His effect is Dawn 1, so when 1 Dawn is attached, when attacking, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards from your hand. He also has counter plus 2,000, which is a great counter for a character to have. That effect, though, is really, really nice because it gives you a real quick way to grab 2 new cards, especially if you feel like you've got a hand that doesn't have a lot of good stuff. And you could do that effect multiple times, every turn when you attack. Only by attaching 1 Dawn, you get to potentially draw 2 cards and have 2 new options to put in your hand. As the game goes and your needs change, you'll be able to pull cards into your hand that give you more options. And this is one of the strongest draw effects we've seen so far, which is, as I said earlier, going to be huge in this game. There's not a lot of draw power. You draw once at the beginning of your turn. If your life gets hit, you get to get that card, which has been my main strategy playing red so far. It's just let the life go and then hopefully counter and block and stuff later in the game, because you want to build up your hand Otherwise, your hand can minimize to nothing. So having this kind of draw power, even with the discard too, it's great because it allows you to just shuffle cards through your hand and get the cards you need in the moment. And that 5,000 power, really strong card. And the 2,000 counter, really strong card. He's great. I'm sure there'll only be 2 of him in the base starter deck because he's very functional. So yeah, he's good. The next card we got is an interesting card. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good card. We got the Scratch Monopoo card from the green starter deck, a 2-cost 3,000 power shoot style like Usopp, and he's a supernova and an on-air pirate. He's got the counter plus 2,000, which we know is very nice, and his effect is Dawn 1, so if you attach a Dawn to him, when attacking, rest one of your opponent's Dawn. So that's a nice little utility effect. It just prevents your opponent from having a Dawn that would potentially allow them to play counters and that kind of thing on when you're attacking. So that's a good way to minimize getting countered. And from what we've seen of the green starter deck so far, it appears there will be ways to awaken your card and do a second attack. And a card like this Apu would be very useful to awaken because that when attacking effect is not once per turn. So you could potentially rest 2 Dawn and really keep your opponent from getting to counter unless they have a lot of Dawn active on your turn. So this card with the 2,000 counter and that simple effect, and it's only a 2-cost, very good card. And it also has a giant white text box on it. Yeah, I'll stop complaining about that. The next card we got is another insanely good card. This is the X-Drake from the green starter deck. So this is actually the second X-Drake we've seen. We have now a purple X-Drake, which is just a bland vanilla. And then this is a green X-Drake as a supernova. And it is a much better card than that lame vanilla from the purple starter deck. This X-Drake is a 4-cost 5,000 power slash style card. He's got 3 typings. He's got a Marine typing, a Supernova typing, and a Drake Pirates typing, so he could potentially in the future fit into lots of different theme decks. His effect is Dawn 1, so when a Dawn is attached to him during your turn, while this character is rested, your Marines and Supernova types, leader, and characters gain plus 1,000 power. So he basically, after he's attacked or voluntarily rested for some other reason, all of your other characters that have Marine or Supernova typing and leader type gain 1,000 power. So he is a quick, strong buff for basically everybody on your field. It's a fun little thematic thing too, because it's like he's helping everybody because he's a character who sort of plays both sides. Yeah, he's very interesting. He also has a counter 1,000, so he's got a nice little effect there too. But between that effect where he gets to buff people on his field, both Supernovas and Marines, so that also tells us there's going to be Marines in green, unless there's some way to play this card in a black deck, which is what we know is going to be a Marine starter deck, but I imagine they're going to be green Marines too. Just a very, very useful card. Counter, powerful attack, buffs everything else. It's great. It could be really good. Then we finally started getting some booster set card reveals, starting with the red event card called In 2 Years to Sabaody. This is an image when the Straw Hats were separated in the manga for 2 years, training and getting strong and working on themselves. This is a 1-cost red event card, and believe me, does red need this card, because I played a couple games yesterday as red, and if I had this card, the games might have gone differently. This is a 1-cost event card that has the effect main. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal 1 Straw Hat Crew type character card, and add it to your hand. Return the other cards in any order to the bottom of your deck. Trigger, same effect. So if it's in your life and it's hit, you get to do this. If it's in your hand and you pay only 1 cost, you get to search 5 cards and grab a Straw Hat character card from your hand. The other cards then go to the bottom of your deck, which is very nice because that means that you're not milling 4 cards. You get to keep your deck built up so that you don't run out of cards, which is a way of losing. This card is super necessary for red right now because Drawing and having the cards you need in the moment is a big issue with red right now. I did a video with the other decks, or Casual Adobo, as he's known, where we played revamped starter decks, and I revamped a red starter deck. Basically, we pretended like we had 2 starter decks, and we could just change the ratios of the cards in the starter decks, and I was running red, and I thought that the game was going to go a lot better because of the ratio changes I made, but man, just red, especially compared to purple, it just doesn't have search power, it doesn't have draw power. There's a good chance you're not going to have the cards in your hand that you need when you need them, and this card will do a lot to help that. This also solidifies an opinion I already have, which is that Vivi is the worst card in the red starter deck. She's not completely useless because she is a 2-cost 4,000 power, which is a very functional range to be in. It's not an expensive card, and it's got a good bit of power, but she is not designated as a Straw Hat on her card, so this card would not be able to pull her. So I already believe that the VV card is the first card you should look at getting rid of when you're changing the ratios of your red starter deck, especially if you're trying to build with cards from the booster set and you want to throw this card in there, which you definitely want to. Get rid of your VVs, because this card will pull the cards that you really want, like your Sanji and your Brook and your Luffy's, and you don't need to be looking at that VV when you're pulling 5 cards. So this card is great, super useful, super necessary. Frankly, it should have been in the starter deck. They should have put 2 of it in the starter deck, and it would have just elevated red to an actual functional level. The next card that we have, I'm sure many people are excited about, one of the most popular characters in One Piece, Don Quixote do Flamingo from the blue starter deck. This is a 7-cost, 7,000 power special style card. He's a 7 warlord and a Don Quixote pirate. And his effect is, on play, return a 7-cost or lower character to its owner's hand. And this is the kind of effect I've been waiting for. This is blue. In Digimon, and now in One Piece, this is blue, in my opinion. Knocking cards back to hands. This Don Quixote excites me for blue more than anything else so far. First of all, the image actually looks good. It's a manga image, I believe, and it's a full image. There's no giant gaudy text box, and it is a great effect. There's no on-play -4 Dawn like you'd see in purple starter deck, because you're not killing the card, you're putting it back in the hand, which in my opinion is great because it gets rid of it anyway. They'd have to pay for it to be back on the field, and you don't have to do any extra cost for it. This card is awesome. 7 cost, 7,000 power, huge power. Already huge power. Knocks a 7 cost back to your opponent's hand. Huge. Risky, especially if you knock something like Jack back, or not Jack, King back from the purple star deck, and then they'd have that option to use it again. It is risky. There are cards that have on-play effects that you wouldn't want to knock back to hand, but this is the one. This is it, baby. I think I'm going to be playing blue. And speaking of blue, the next card that we got revealed is a blue card from the booster set. This is Bellamy, the Scrub, the Hyena Scrub. He is a 2-cost, 4,000 power strike style card. He's got a nice original art, very nice. I'm all about the original arts. I'm not going to criticize any original arts anymore. They all look great compared to an anime image with a giant white text box, and this card looked great. Regardless of that, he's got his nice spring punch going, got his spring leg. He is a 2-cost, 4,000 power strike style. His typing is Dressrosa, so that makes me wonder if we're going to be getting to see a nice full Dressrosa set of cards in the booster set, and his only effect is counter 1,000, so he is the same as a Vivi, or Sheep's Head, or Heat, so that sort of puts you in mind for what how they feel about Bellamy. That's the characters that he is among. But it's interesting that this card is in the booster set and not in the starter deck, because this seems like the style of card that you'd see in the starter deck, the 2 cost 4,000 power. That seems like it's normal, so I wonder if there's not going to be one of those in the blue starter deck. But there's not a lot to say about this, except I think the most noteworthy thing is the Dressrosa typing, because Dressrosa makes me think that we might be getting a nice full Dressrosa set of cards in the booster set. I know that we also recently got a Cavendish card. That's not, I don't think it was designated as Dressrosa type, but he is from the same arc as Dressrosa. So I'm wondering if we will get a fun, interesting, like Don Quixote. I mean, it's not, it's interesting that he's not designated as Don Quixote Pirates, because then he would sort of have synergy with the Doflamingo we just looked at, and he is a subordinate of his, and that was in Dressrosa. But even if it's not, you know, I think that Dressrosa designation means that we could be seeing Senor Pink and stuff like that, which I think a lot of people will be very excited about, building a Don Quixote crew of the pirates. But it is weird that he does not fit into that category. Maybe just the 2 cost 4,000 power cards generally aren't supposed to fit into that category. Otherwise they'd be too good? Question mark? Maybe, because they only need 1,000 power to be buffed enough to hit the leaders we've seen so far. So yeah, that's about all I've got today. I'm getting really excited because they are pumping out the releases now. We're actually getting booster set card releases, which is the stuff that's going to be really worth talking about once we have these starter decks out of the way. Green is almost done. We've almost got all of the green starter decks. Blue, we've got a bit more to talk about, but I mean, that Doflamingo already puts it at the top of my list. And I think that's about it. I'll be putting out a video soon where I am collaborating with the other decks. So be sure to check out his channel. And he will be posting a collaboration with me as well. And that's about it. So have a good one, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and have a good one.